What's going on, everybody? Welcome back for the 35th episode of the Refreshing the Feed podcast. My name's Matt, this is Kristan, and we're refreshing your feed so you don't have to.
John Cena. Matthew Torino's a teleporter.
There's berries, not people.
Let's go!
Okay, Kristan, it's been a while since we last saw each other.
It's been a while.
Yeah, more than a while, actually. I really wanted to have you on. Obviously, people know you from social media and the brand you've started. I want to just jump right into it, no hesitating. After Apparel on Instagram is what?
After Apparel.
Just at After Apparel.
At After Apparel,
okay,
yeah.
Dope. If you want to let everybody know where they can reach you on social media.
Yeah, definitely. I'll talk about it at the end of the podcast.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I just want to know, like, just starting off, we haven't really spoke about it. I DM'd you about it. I was like, this is dope, things like that. Because I really like the style. I really like the way it's like the aesthetic of it and things like that. I want to know, like, first, before we start about talking about anything, like, what made you want to start it? Like, what was the beginning of it?
I'm going to say, like, beginning of university, I was always interested in starting my own clothing line. So I guess the pandemic was a great opportunity to just, I had the time, I had the essentials, and I just, I started in my basement. Everything's handmade.
Oh, it's dope.
And I got a lot of my manufacturing equipment from my dad. He's a sign manufacturer.
Oh,
so
sure.
I literally do it all in my basement. I have the equipment to do everything. And it was just a work in progress. Honestly, I've always wanted to do it. And the pandemic was a great time to start.
A lot of people started their own business or
a lot
done
of
their own
people.
podcast. We even mentioned off camera that, like, a lot of, like, self-owned businesses, small businesses have started up during the pandemic, right? I think it's good, but I also think it's, like, kind of
tough
takes away from the economy and things like that, right? So, but I do think that, like, number one, clothing brands and things that are involved with social media is, like, really, there's such, like, a wide range of where you can go with it, right? Like,
For sure, yeah.
Publishing and things like that, especially with podcasting and speaking personally, like, you can take it and make it so much more than what it is.
Yeah, no.
Like 40 years ago, a clothing brand would start from, like, nothing, and you'd have, like, no exposure, and you have to, like, go put your brand, like, your clothing out there and whatever, right? But this is, like, you can just everybody will know what it looks like before they even see it, right?
Exactly, and with social media today too, like, it's so easy to just advertise and market to such a wide audience because, like, I have people messaging me from, like, across, like, in Europe and saying that, like, I found your clothing brand on my Explore page, like, it's pretty dope. And it's cool, like, how social media opens up such a wide audience for you to expand your
it is
clothing too.
So, like, when you first started, you said, like, you've had some of the resources there and things like that. Do you think that if you didn't have those resources, would it be even possible? Because I know, like, you did still start from, like, zero, right? In a sense, like, even though the resources were somewhat there, right? Like, there still was, like, zero. I know, like, it's what's it called, embroidering equipment?
Embroidering, yeah.
Yeah, like, all that equipment and things like that, sewing machines and shit is, like, fucking, like, super expensive.
Yeah, they range for above $10K.
It's fucked. It's crazy, right? So do you think that, like,
I wouldn't say it wasn't possible. I know that there's, like, a lot of websites that do it for you. Like, for example, Shopify and Printify, like, they're huge in starting up small businesses and embroidery and all that stuff. But I definitely had, I'm going to say, the easy way out with my dad having the equipment just sitting in his shop, because he would make the apparel for his guys in the back to work with, just, like, so they can have, like, his business on their T-shirt. But I'm going to say that I definitely had it easy with having the equipment handed to me. But if I were to branch off into other websites, having them manufacture it for me, I would say it would be a bit more pricey.
Oh yeah, definitely.
100%.
Yeah.
And you have to have a lot of trust in these companies. Like, I know some friends of mine have, like, they're also doing their own clothing line, and they've had manufacturers just completely mess
just shit
up
on them.
Yeah. And,
that's
like,
terrible.
Steal, like, they just take
designs
money from you.
Oh
they
my
just
god.
Take your designs. Yeah. So.
No, it's crazy. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I've talked to people before also, that, like, when I was, I was in architecture before and things like that. So at the beginning, I was sort of, like, not open to using my connections. Like, my dad's in that sort of industry, so he would get me in there and things like that. I never thought of, like, okay, I would use his connections. I was always on that like arrogant, like I want to do it myself. I want, you know what I mean? Like I always want to do everything myself. But I spoke to a guy, one of my dad's friends. He goes, don't be a little punk. Like just like use your resources, right? It'll get you somewhere. So that I can tell it helped.
Honestly, I'm like that too, though. Like I always wanted to do it on my own, and then my dad's like, you know what? Like I have the experience starting at my own business, so like let me guide you. Let me tell you like what's wrong and what's right, like what will get you far and what will help you succeed. And honestly, like, shout out to my dad. I would not be where I am without him. He's like,
that's awesome.
He's been helping me through this entire way. So.
Yeah, it's dope. I've seen like you're on Instagram. Not even like slow progression. Like you've made it like a pretty big jump in like followers and
you know what? Because I started. I'm gonna say this was end of January, beginning of February. I started with my basic, just the after. I had a different logo too. It was just the triangle and. You know what, this goes with every business. Like, you just grow out of your creation. Like, I just grew out of that aesthetic. I just wanted to go a bit more simpler. And I just didn't like the way it looked before. So I just, like, completely just revamped my whole business within, like, the span of a month. I created a new design.
Oh, my God, that's dope.
And I had a lot of people, like, reach out to me and support me throughout, like, this whole journey saying that, like, you know what? Go for it. Like, we're here for you. We'll shout you out. We'll get you customers. And I had a good audience to begin with to help me succeed and branch off. That's why like my following's like pretty decent for a beginning business, but I definitely want this to grow.
For sure. Obviously, right? You put all that time and effort.
Yeah.
It's pretty much with anything, right? I can justify that for sure. It's like you put all these hours in. If you don't see like immediate turnaround, it's always discouraging, right? Like you always don't. It's always like, oh fuck, like why am I even doing this? Like I start to question everything, right? But I think that questioning is what like really like propels you in the right direction, right? Like I think that's what really like stems like hard work and things like that. Because if you're doing it always like because you love it, then like obviously that's great, but I feel like there's no like drive. Like it doesn't create a drive, right? But you're kind of juggling a lot of things. We spoke off camera. You're doing a little bit of everything here and there, working.
2 business, 2 jobs, school, and
side
this
business.
On the side.
Yeah, right. So, how do you like? I've spoken to a lot of people that do have a lot on their plate and things like that. I for one, I consider myself a lot on my plate. Like, what do you think is the most important thing when it comes to making time for after instead of?
I think the most important thing right now is, you know, I'm still in school, so obviously I want to be able to succeed in what I want to do with my future, and this is just a side thing that I'm starting up right now, but definitely time managing, you know, like if I ever have a day off, I would take about 8 hours and do all of my orders that day. It's just pretty much, you know, like time managing is probably the most, I would say it's the most important thing when juggling a lot of it on your plate, because you'll get overwhelmed. Like I can say for myself I have no time. Like I have no time.
Are you one to like put things in a schedule, or do you have things like reminders, or
always
reminders?
Always reminders.
I think that's one of I think that's one of like my biggest flaws. Because I don't put things in I even spoke about this with Daniel. You were just recently on his Corner Talks podcast. Shout out to Daniel, he's doing great things. I whenever I put things on my, like, I don't put things on calendar. Like I'll sit one day and I'll be like, I'll put like things for the week, and then I'll just go to shit and I'll just remember everything.
Yeah.
But that's the same way I was in high school, like assignments, deadlines, things like that. I just remember them, and then I feel like it keeps the mind fresh in a way.
Yeah, no, for
just
sure.
to always like be on the ball, but it also creates like this level of like stress because you're just always thinking about it. Like I got this, I got that, I got this, right?
But you know, I wasn't always like that. Like I think like having my own business, I had to take the responsibility to be like, you know what, I actually have people who want products from me. Like I need to step up and take action and be organized. Because I feel like people will look at me and be like, "Oh, this girl's unorganized."
If you miss an order or something,
absolutely.
Yeah, well, I think with ordering and things like that, it's like so much more important to keep.
And especially like tracking shipments, tracking everything. Like it's you have to keep organized. Like you have to keep all your shipping or numbers. Like right now I bought myself like a whole notebook, and I'm just like keeping all my invoices, keep everything, or else I would go nuts. Like I would not remember anything.
So you've sort of like been through all the processes of not even just a clothing brand, like starting up a business, right? So that's so much more than after apparel, right? There's so much to go with that. What's like the most difficult part of all of that, aside from time managing and things like that? What do you think is the most difficult like aspect of a clothing brand that you've had to develop, whether it's designing or shipping, or like what aspect do you think is the most difficult?
I think that right now designing and shipment is pretty straightforward. I would think that the most difficult part is the wide array of other customer brands, like clothing brands that are competing with you. Like I've had like, you know what, everyone's in the same boat right now. Everyone's trying to make a living off of their small business. So everyone's just trying to compete against each other. And I think the competition that you deal with within this industry is very stressful, because you can see people like just starting up their business and like making a better like living off of it than you do. And it kind of puts you down in a sense, but you honestly like I've been through stuff already in my business, like, and my dad tells me all the time with his business, like there will always be people try to compete against you. They will steal your designs, they will steal your customers, but like honestly, if you have a passion for what you do and you have like love for what you want to create, then people will take that into consideration. 100%. And they will look for that rather than like the simplistic, just like I'm starting my own business to make money on the side. Like they want to see people succeed because they love what they're doing.
I feel like that's exactly, that's like so important. And I feel like you can tell in a way, like when you're not judging, but when you're like looking at someone that has their own business or started something of their own, right? Like I feel like you can tell almost right away that they're either doing it, like you just said, like for the money or for the passion, right? And I think it's like super important to have that passion. I think that there's a lot of different ways it can be shown, but when you become discouraged, and well, if you think about things like podcasting, and like just to relate it back to myself, right? Like I could monetize right now. You know what I mean? I could start doing commercials, ads in between the beginning and the end and whatever, right? But I don't think that like if people start seeing I'm doing an ad with not so many downloads or whatever, followers, things like that, then what's gonna happen when I'm bigger, right? If I grow it, it's just gonna go to shit. It's just gonna be full of ads, right? So like when you're looking at things like that, especially with publishing and things on Instagram, what do you go for? I know the aesthetic that I've seen, but what's sort of like the image you want to have for the brand that you want people to take away from it, in a sense?
I definitely so my brand is focused more on a minimalistic and simplistic styles, which means that it gives you a lot of freedom to do whatever you want with this. Like I was talking again with my previous podcast that with this simplicity, you can dress up a hoodie and you can dress down a hoodie. You can do whatever you want. It gives you the freedom to do anything. And streetwear is such a big business, such a huge industry right now, that people will look at this brand and be like, this can go far, you know, like this, like Supreme, for example. It's so simple, but people look at it as such a high-end like brand, like that will go for thousands. So definitely, like, I like the simplistic style to it, because you can do whatever you want with it and it can go with anything. That's why right now I'm sticking with black and white, because it goes with everything. But definitely in the future I want to expand my colors and expand my business to look more into staying with the street style, but doing more with it, I guess. I want to know if you're one of the people that that value like clothing quality or the brand. Definitely quality.
Definitely clothing quality. I beg to I don't know. I just think that both are very important.
I agree. Both are very important, because you can have a high-end brand, but the material's cheap and it'll only last you like maybe a couple months. But then again, you can have a high-end brand who pays to have their quality like 100%. And that definitely plays into like the factor of the brand as well. Like if you're a high-end brand, you have to have high-end quality. It goes hand in hand with each other. Like you can't be paying that much money for a brand if it's only gonna last you.
Exactly. But I think like the rest of the world is like set on just buying for the brand. Right? When I go into like sneaker boutiques and like exclusive like streetwear shops, and they have like all these Supreme and Louis V and all this shit, right? But aside from like designer brands, when you think of like I named a couple like Velo and Supreme, I don't know, I'm blanking right now, but those types of brands, right, that are really just like box logo on a t-shirt or box logo on a fucking hoodie, right? And they're going for like over $100, whatever it is, right?
Crazy.
So like people live off of those, like just the brand, right?
Because
like
society, it makes you believe that if you own these brands, you're gonna be respected.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I walked in here dripped out in Supreme, like, you're automatically gonna respect me.
Yeah. And the one thing I saw actually on Instagram, it was like this video about like the details of a Lamborghini. Like, people don't value the metal and the petroleum products and the paint that goes into it, but they value like the lifestyle that comes with it. You know what I mean? Not even just like the horsepower and the how fast it can go and things like that, right? It's just like, I have a Lamborghini, like I'm sort of like better than, you know what I mean? I think that's sort of like a downfall of consumerism. I think it's like there should be a way where we can still value like great quality products rather than just for their brand, right? Because I think that in the case of After Apparel, like just relating back to you, like the quality's good and the design's good, right? So there's like fucking progress there, right? Like when you go in that direction, if you ever wanted to go, do you ever see yourself going to like denim, or like eventually down the line you want to get into
100%. I want to, I definitely want to incorporate, like, I think my next drop, just a little sneak peek, I'm going to start doing like art on the back.
Oh shit.
Because my sister's an artist, so I want to use some of her art piece and just
you heard it here first.
Yes, guys.
You heard it here first.
But I'm just spitballing here, but I definitely want to do more. Denim, anything, like, it can all...
Yeah, but I think that's why the importance of... I do a lot of graphic design and things like that. The importance of a versatile logo and, like, different types of logo, like, whether it's on the thing, the wrist, or whatever, right? I think the versatility of that is, like, one of the most important things.
For sure.
Right? For sure. So... Supreme has like trademarked that box logo or whatever, and they just kind of just like slap it on things, right? Or just the red, right? And you just know it. So once you get that like trademark logo, people just generally associate, like the triangles is like, I think that's dope. Like, just because like
there's a meaning behind it, but we'll get into that after.
Oh, what is it? You tell me right
now. Okay, so After Apparel, after means like the future, so that's like the whole point of why I started After is because I'm a big advocate for how fashion trends evolve over time. So like, for example, like how Champion was like used to sell at Walmart for like $20, and now it has evolved into, again, a high-end brand. So the triangles actually represent past, present, future.
Oh shit, there's 3 of them.
Yeah, so and After means like, so it just kind of tied hand in hand with each other. But yeah, like, I've always wanted to use my passion for fashion trends and evolution and just incorporate it into art and streetwear pretty much.
That's dope. That's so sick. It's so well thought out. I actually didn't think it was that well thought out. That's dope. That's amazing. But yeah, like I was saying, like, it's just so important that you have that, right? Like, if you didn't have something as versatile as that, like, when you have some things that just go great on a t-shirt or on a hoodie, and then you get like denim products and you get like dressier clothes, blazers, things like that, and then it just doesn't work.
It just doesn't work,
right? Like, but I could see that being on like the cuffling of a blazer, or like the edge of a thing, right? The wrist of a fucking.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I just see that, right? It's just something that. So like back to like the aesthetic, right? I know the way you want it to be perceived, like the streetwear sort of dope vibe, like, but what is the what's like before? Was this always the vision, or you always wanted to move into what you were just saying? Like, did you start just, okay, I want this to only be streetwear for right now, and then eventually move on?
Yeah, I wanted to start with streetwear.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I wanted to start with streetwear first, but again, I want to branch off.
Yeah, move on.
I haven't really thought that far into how I want to branch off, but streetwear was definitely the vibe I was going for, especially because I grew up in the hip-hop industry, and I've always, like,
you did a lot of dancing.
Yeah, so I've always admired, like, the clothing and the costumes that hip-hop dancers just perceive themselves and present themselves in. So it was just a motivation for me. I was like, this is sick. Like I wanna expand my love for art.
Yeah.
Throughout the
for sure. Yeah.
Clothing.
How like you've done obviously a Corner Talks podcast you mentioned and other things and for photo shoots and how much do you value? Because I value it greatly, especially from a podcasting perspective. How much do you value like collaboration with like other creators and other? I think
it's so important.
Like the most important, right?
It's so important because it gives you the opportunity to expand your horizons, expand your industry basically by reaching out to different customers, rather it be like for example, I collabed with the 94 Productions.
Yeah.
And I've had people from his that he's known very well throughout his industry reach out to me saying that like, oh, you collabed with Daniel, for example, like that's awesome. And it allows you to learn things from each other. Like I've learned a lot from Daniel and collabing with the 94 Productions, and I hope that he learned a lot from me. But these things you take into perspective and you can apply it to what you like, how far you're going to go in the future. Like I just think it's so important because you learn things from each other, and it's definitely like, again, working like, again, with what my dad was saying, like you need to learn things from other people in order to succeed. Like
exactly.
You learn a lot of stuff and that'll just help you grow in the end.
Exactly. And not even so much like getting contacts, like the people I've met through here and through other places, and even like DMing and things like that. People give you like this like marketing tips, publishing tips, and for like clothing brands, it'd be like a new world of the way people can be like, oh, this is dope, but like if you had like a link tree and things like that,
yeah, no, for sure,
right? Like without having a link tree, I think a lot of people see link trees and they're like discouraged because they're like, fuck, I gotta click that and click that, right? But link trees are like open up so much more for you.
Exactly.
Right?
And you know what? Speaking of that, I just opened up a Linktree
really?
account because I was like, this is a great way to just like allow people to just click a link and see like all of the things that we have accomplished, all the upcoming projects we have. It's just like an easy outlet for people to recognize like your projects and how far you've come.
Yeah.
So I agree 100% with you. Like it is a great marketing tool. Like,
yeah,
100%.
It's fantastic.
100%.
Yeah. What do you think is your best form of marketing right now? What do you think has gotten you the most success?
100%.
Just Instagram? You think so?
Instagram and Facebook, to be honest.
Oh, really? You're on Facebook?
Facebook, yeah. So it's just like a linked account from my Instagram to my Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Like whatever I post on Instagram, I'll post on my Facebook page. But I have a lot of people on Facebook. It's more older, but I have like my mom reaching out to her friends who reach out to their kids, who reach out to their friends. Like it's just like audience after audience. Like it's just expanding constantly. But definitely, again, Instagram and social media, because that's like the soul of our world today. Everything revolves around technology. Everything revolves around social media. And again, it's so easy to just like scroll through your explore page and be like, this is new. Like,
well, I want to know what do you have to have like a certain amount of followers or just a professional account to be able to like have the shop button pop up?
I think it's a professional. I'm pretty sure it's a professional account because it'll ask you under business if you're like a clothing brand, whatever, and then it'll eventually like
offer
when they see, it'll offer.
I think they have to be sponsored posts, no?
Yeah.
I think that's what it is, right? Yeah, that's like a whole another level of fucking.
Yeah, no.
Right, like, and it costs a bit, right? And when you think about it, for keeping it for like 7 days or whatever, for those who understand like how it works, but again, like I want to know, like you said before, it costs money to make money, and starting this off definitely costed you money. This definitely costed me money, all the equipment, all that stuff, right? So do you think that what I'm not going to ask you what it costs, and because definitely whatever, it's all your business, but do you think that cost can justify starting up a business?
For sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. You know, because I've actually I've had a lot of people talk me through this business, and you're going to have people, for example, like I would come into someone and I would give them a sweater for advertisement so they can market and they can reach out to people. Again, that will hopefully get me money because I'll have more customers. But again, I'm losing out money because I'm giving out stuff for free. Yeah. Right? So again, starting up this business cost me a bit of money.
I believe it.
It was all worth it in the end. Like I'm having I love what I do. I'm having so much fun with what I do, but it was definitely a lot of money invested into this before I started making money.
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing like me, like, and a lot of like content creators and things like that, and people that do podcasting, film directing, and all the aspects of media. The original question is, especially from parents and family friends, and is when are you going to start making money, right? Like when is this going to turn into actual money? You spent like who knows how many hundreds, thousands of dollars, right? Like when's this going to turn into actual cash for you? The explanation that I usually give is, people don't base followers and things and followers, subscribers, and commenting and likes as money, but I value those 100%. As money. Right? Like people don't see that as money, especially my parents, especially the people older that don't really recognize like the importance of social media. So when I see that, like, I've adapted something to my podcast, gained me 50 followers, gained me 50 subscribers, whatever it is, right? When I see things like that with you, with clothing, it's just more like really like black and white. Like you see the customers or you don't.
Exactly.
But it also translates, like I said, to social media. Like when you have that adaptation, like you said, you changed the design brand, you slapped it up on social media, everyone saw that. This is dope. Okay, now I'm gonna buy it. Right? So people that are older, especially like your dad, or I bet they do understand because you've explained it, but my parents that I haven't really explained it to, or my aunts, uncles, people that are older, don't really understand that this is a business now. Like you have to go through this to create a like successful business. Like you can't have something that doesn't branch out on social media.
No, for sure.
Right?
And like, again, with the following and the likes and subscribes, like I value that so much because it boosts up your algorithm. Like, if you gain a follower off of a new drop, like people will notice. It'll pop up on people's pages whether it's promoted or not. But again, my parents don't understand that, like likes, views, like even how you can do like the Google Analytics where you see who's clicked your links or whatever. Like when I see people viewing my website, like it's just hypes me up.
Crazy,
like it's crazy. But again, with starting a business, like I know I've experienced this already. You're gonna have standstills where it's just you're gonna have no business. It's gonna be completely quiet. Nobody's gonna be viewing anything. Nobody's gonna be. But that's just part of growing. Like that's something you have to understand, that it shouldn't put you down. It's part of the process. Like that's the way it works. Like you can't just be. Like, if you're starting up a new business, you can't be busy 24/7.
Yeah,
like, it just doesn't... Unless you know a lot of people, then 100%. But I'm starting this on my own. Like, I really had no guidance beside my dad. Like, people I've talked to outside of work. But, like... At the beginning, seeing like I wasn't getting any business was definitely like
it's the most discouraging.
Yeah, it was really discouraging. Like, I don't know if this is like, did I invest all this money for no reason? Like it was just like, But now like I understand. Like I'm not the only one going through this. Like a lot of small businesses like definitely go through the same thing, but it's just a learning progress.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that feeling of like that discouraging feeling is just like probably one of the worst, right? Like when you just think of like, I've done all this, I spent all these hours, I spent all this time and money and everything, and then it just doesn't get like traction, right? But I think the most important thing is consistency, and I preach that like often on the podcast, and staying consistent, staying up to your schedule and your timing and everything has to be perfect. And eventually good things will come. I say that all the time. And it even translates in like my work. Like I work at a part-time job, but when I wasn't doing great there, because I wasn't doing great for at least 6 months for a period, right? If I would just said, screw it, like I'm just going to quit because I hate this place, I would have been gone and I wouldn't have been where I am today, right? A managerial position and things like that, right? So it does translate into something like great eventually, and
that goes with everything. Like not even businesses too. Like consistency is key because like, you know what, you might have downfalls in your life, but if you work hard, you will definitely succeed, and you'll definitely get to where you want to become in the future. Like this goes with school. This goes with even like this whole podcast. Like you got to remain consistent because I know you can go far. You definitely know you can go far, and it's just that you have to expand your horizons, expand your audience, and just keep it consistent, keep key. You're doing
Yeah, it's dope.
You're doing good, Starina.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. That's dope. Okay, we're going to wrap up, but let everybody know where they can hit you up on social media.
Oh, yeah. So, After Apparel on Instagram, that's AFTR Apparel. My website's www.afterapparel, and Facebook again, After Apparel.
And your personal? Your personal Instagram?
Kristan Rea, AA_. You'll definitely find the links to everything on there.
Perfect.
My link tree, and yeah.
That's dope. I think we're gonna wrap up for today. This was great. I'm really glad you came on.
Thank you for having me.
It was a great discussion. If you're listening to this, check out the podcast on YouTube in full video. Check out the links in the description if you're watching this. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok is all down below. That's it for episode 35. Again, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We refreshed your feet so you didn't have to. Peace out.